Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to 2A News Now, and I really appreciate you taking your time tuning into my video. I have some really important news for you guys. An ATF SWAT team raided a part-time FFL's Oklahoma home and confiscated all of his guns. And they told him, and I quote, "We're shutting the gun shows down." Russel Fincher is a high school history teacher, a Baptist pastor, and a part-time gun dealer. He also coaches Little League in his hometown of Tuskahoma, Oklahoma, which has a population around 151 people. Fincher, who is 52, has had a federal firearms license for around 3 years. He has no brick and mortar gun shop. He's what used to be called a kitchen table FFL. He sells most of his firearms at gun shows, including Wanamaker's Arms Show in Tulsa, living in southeast Oklahoma. "If you don't have a gun under $400, people ain't buying it," he said on Thursday. "Rarely do people come to my house to buy a gun." In April, Fincher received a call from the ATF. They wanted to do an inspection at his home. I told them they were more than welcome at any time. 2 ATF inspectors arrived a few days later. They spent 3 hours at his home. They took pictures of his 4473s with their cell phones, which Fincher has since learned is illegal, although a common practice. "Honestly, they were nicer than I expected," he said. "They said I had some guns that had some traces on them, which concerned them, and he said it concerned him as well." The inspectors returned 2 weeks later. They had some concerns involving Fincher's penmanship, which they couldn't read on a couple of forms. They also found that he juxtaposed the model number of a firearm with the weapon's serial number, which Fincher was attempting to rectify. On June 16, Fincher and his son were packing for a gun show in Tulsa when the phone rang. It was the ATF. They said they wanted to talk to him before he left for the gun show. "We can come out to the house," he recalls the agent saying. "I told him sure I'd be home." 7 vehicles roared up to his home, and out came a dozen ATF agents in tactical gear with AR-15s. Mr. Fincher said it was like the Trump raid. "They called me out onto the deck and handcuffed me. My son was there and saw the whole thing. He is 13 years old. They held him on the porch for about an hour and was surrounded by agents. One by one, they yelled at him about what he was doing." He said in his mind, if they were going to beat him up over every little thing, that he was done. "And as soon as I said, 'If you want my FFL, you can have it,' one of the agents pulled out a piece of paper and said, 'Well, then sign here.' He had 3 copies. 'Well, then sign here,' the agent said. He made 3 copies in case I screwed up on one. It was exactly what they wanted, and he was shocked." As soon as Fincher relinquished his federal firearms license, the ATF began loading up his guns, including a Colt Commander, 5 Glocks, and a Mint AK, a Polytech pre-band milled underfolder, which is worth thousands of dollars. They took more than 50 of his personal guns. He asked them why they were taking his guns, and they said they were for evidence. He estimated that they took $50,000 to $60,000 worth of his guns. I'm going to pop up on the screen the list of firearms that they took from Mr. Fincher. After ATF SWAT team cleared Fincher's home, they called the agent in charge of the raid, Special Agent Theodore Mongol, and told him it was safe to come up. Special Agent Mongol told Fincher, "You're done, we have to shut you down. You tell all your FFL buddies, we're coming for them. We're shutting the gun shows down." One agent told Fincher they hate home FFLs. He said, "If I wanted to sell a Browning shotgun to someone at a gun show with no paperwork, that's no problem. But when I sell a Glock or an AR lower, that's a gangbanger." I asked him where it said that in the regs. He said no gangbanger would be shooting people with a $2,000 Benelli. He said to him that was one of the most dumbest statements that he could have made. Several agents accused Fincher of making too much money through his gun show sales. He told them that at the last show he attended, he only sold $75 worth of ammunition, but spent $1,200 on hotels, tables, gas, and food. They said he was basically using his FFL to sell guns personally. They said he was going around the system, putting guns on the street that should not be there. Fincher was told to load the firearms that the ATF didn't want into the back of his pickup truck, which he later took to another FFL. Toward the end of the ordeal, Fincher asked Mongol about the guns they had seized. He told him if he was willing to forfeit them, we can make a lot of this go away. This, of course, sounds like and is a shakedown. They seized his guns as punitive damage. They knew how to get to him by taking all of his guns. He said there was no rhyme or reason to what they took. He said honestly they took the most expensive and rarest ones. The Second Amendment Foundation's investigative journalism project contacted ATF Special Agent Theodore Mongol on his cell phone Thursday afternoon and asked him why they raided Fincher's home and seized his guns. He said he couldn't answer any questions. I'm not supposed to do that per my agency. Actually, I'm not supposed to talk to anyone until I get approval from my higher-ups. I have to verify who you are, take down your info, and go through my agency. Despite promises to do so, Mongrel never called back. There doesn't appear to be any justification for a SWAT team raid or such a massive show of force in a case like this. After all, Fincher invited the ATF into his home after cuffing him and berating him for more than an hour. The agents never even told Fincher if or when he could be charged with a crime. He fears he would lose his teaching job if he's charged with a felony. Fincher said they have his life in the palm of their hands, and they have very little accountability. He said he's just trying to make a living, and it takes 3 jobs just to make ends meet. Dealing as little as I have with the ATF. When you ask them a specific question, they tell you it's a gray area. Well, a gray area can send you to jail. I feel very bad for Mr. Fincher, but I guarantee you this is going to happen more and more this year and next year. They had no reason to confiscate any of his firearms, and they had no reason to show up with an ATF SWAT team. It's just another instance of Biden's ATF going way overboard, and this crap needs to stop, and our representatives in Congress need to investigate what happened that day. Let me know what you think about the story in the comment sections down below. And if you enjoyed the video, or if I gave you some information you didn't know, please take time to like, share, and subscribe, and hit those post notifications. And I invite everybody back to see my next video.